the American people have such a stupid and simplistic view of the world that it's almost as if we deserve to be lied to, as if it's like we're built in such a way that politicians can just naturally reach into our brains and put their bullshit right in there. And nothing makes it even more clear than this whole episode with Trump and the war in Syria and the way the media has been reacting to it. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not going to blame Donald Trump for all of this, but he deserves some blame. It was a bad idea in my mind. If he turns out to be right, I'll admit that I was wrong, okay? But there are so many people, so many dumbass Democrats, pieces of shit, that have come out and they've said either one of two things. They've said they're for the war when the Democrats have for years defined themselves as the anti-war party, which they're not. And then there's other ones that are starting to ask, why is it the Republicans always get us into wars? Now, let me tell you what the real problem is. We have a two-party system that basically allows people to put on a stupid cloak. It's a stupid cloak, okay? You put it on and people just become stupid when they have to really make a decision on whether you're a legitimate speaker or whether you're just some full of shit lying scumbag, which is probably what you are if you're a politician. All this talk about the Democrats or the Republicans being, the party of war and the party of peace is nonsense. They're both full of shit. They don't know anything about how to manage our economy, and all they're in it for is for lobbyist money, defense contractor money. This is why when Donald Trump decided to appoint Rex Tillerson as Secretary of State, I said I'm not going to support this. I don't give a fuck if I voted for Donald Trump. I don't care. He should probably start to think about why is it that he ran for office? He ran for office in order to keep us on the ball for our priorities, making this economy stronger, repealing Obamacare, the worst piece of legislation, the worst lie perpetrated on the American people in the history of legislation, Obamacare. That should have been the priority. All this crap about Syria, so what? So what? So if we fuck Syria over, we conquer it. Do we still have Obamacare? Yes. Do we still have civil asset forfeiture? Yes. Do we still have exorbitant tax rates? Yes. That's the real problem. And all of you lefty pieces of shit, you socialist bastards, coming out and opposing President Trump for the war, but still supporting this Bernie Sanders, I have a little info for you. Let me go back here. Hold on. On April 7th, that was 2 days ago now, Bernie, between all of his bullshit posts about Neil Gorsuch and why he opposes him on the Supreme Court, never mind that the fucking Republicans allowed these two lunatics, Kagan and Sotomayor, onto the court. They never opposed it. They actually voted for those two bitches, those two leftist communist bitches, onto the Supreme Court. So he has no reason to oppose Neil Gorsuch because he supported these clowns that the Democrats put on the Supreme Court, and so did the Republicans. But anyway, forget that. Between those tweets where he was attacking Neil Gorsuch, who's probably, I don't support everything Donald Trump does, but I think he's a good pick. He writes this. On April 7th, he writes, Syria's Bashar Assad's use of chemical weapons against the men, women, and children of this country makes him a war criminal. Okay, that's fine. I'll agree with you. I already think he's a war criminal. I don't like Bashar Assad. I think he's a major problem. But I've already told you what my solution to this problem is, and it's not the United States going to war. And Bernie hasn't given a solution either. All he knows how to do is wave his hands in the air and say, you're doing something. All your policies are for millionaires and billionaires. That's what he does. Every single problem he wants to blame on millionaires and billionaires. But then he writes after that, as the most powerful nation on earth, the United States must work with the international community to bring peace and stability to Syria. Okay, that meshes with his other tweet, right? And then he writes, I'm deeply concerned the strike in Syria could lead the U.S. back into the quagmire of long-term military engagement in the Middle East. Wait a second, Bernie. I thought you wanted us to do something about Syria. How can you say you want us to do something about Syria, then you don't even know what it is? Either you say what you wanted the United States to do, or you don't. Now, Senator Rand Paul has already said, look, there's no evidence that the government of Syria has committed attacks. Unlike some of these alt-right assholes, these for that matter, some of these people on the left that have like no problem with Bashar Assad. You know, all we're saying is that we don't support the Syrian government, but we're not going to go and first of all invade a country based on an incident that, to be honest with you, is not the worst incident of the Syrian civil war. And second of all, there's so many parties already involved in the war. There's so many things going on there. There's so many problems that it's such a complicated region. Why become one more cog in the wheel of this problem? You know, I've always said, and I'll continue to say, I am not a pacifist. I don't care if some wars some wars happen. Okay, if you're against war, then let me ask you what you're going to do when a bunch of fucking soldiers come by your house and start shooting at it. Okay, wars happen. Don't talk to me about being an anti-war person. I'm not anti-war. I'm anti-idiocy. Okay, and if you're going to go and respond to an incident before you have the full revelation of what happened, then I think that's a stupid decision. And that's why I've been criticizing President Trump over it. I'm not going to call him a war criminal. I'm not going to call him some sort of Hitler like the left does. I'm saying that he's wrong. You know, and for me, it's not even a hard decision. Okay, it doesn't matter that I voted for somebody. It doesn't matter that you know, most of my friends are either divided as pro-Trump or anti-Trump, and they all have their reasons or whatever. A lot of these anti-Trump people, let me tell you, this weekend they were like, yeah, he should have invaded Syria, that's fine. A lot of these anti-Trump people who supported Hillary Clinton, who, by the way, also endorsed the war, wanted the war to happen, campaigned on this position during the election, they're over the moon on this. But they also say, well, we shouldn't accept refugees from Syria. There's already a clip going around on CNN of a refugee saying that that's a ridiculous position. The people of Syria don't want to be refugees anyway. Now, this guy was supporting President Trump attacking Syria, this Syrian guy. Now, look, if you're a Syrian person and you've seen all of your family or you know, people you know, possibly, perhaps seen your country, you know, I don't think all the Syrian people have been totally affected by the war, but probably the vast majority have been. Okay, it's not even, so I'm not denigrating the problem of the Syrian people. I'm saying that you really do need to contemplate, is this the right decision for the United States or not? And I think that Senator Paul has really been the best example of the thinking man's leader of our times. He's really somebody who, he doesn't go into a problem and say, I'm going to blame somebody. He's not going to blame President Obama for all the problems of the past 8 years, but of course he's going to criticize him. He's not going to blame President Bush. He's not going to blame President Trump. You do need somebody in there that's going to call everything as he sees them. And it's high time for people to stop pretending that Bernie Sanders is the conscience of this country. Bernie Sanders is full of shit. Okay, first of all, he opposed the Iraq war. That's fine. That's very good for him. This time, he starts spouting off about how Assad is a war criminal. Fine, I agree he's a war criminal. Do you know how many war criminals the United States has taken no action against? Zero action. Remember the Kony 2012 campaign, where this guy was on TV all the time talking about Joseph Kony in Uganda, and I think he's in Central Africa. No, you probably don't remember that because you don't have a fucking memory. Your memory is probably shorter than a fucking computer loaded with porn. Okay, that's how dumb you are, the average American, that you don't remember that the United States has had war criminals. We've sheltered war criminals from Germany. We've cooperated with war criminals from the Soviet Union. Who do you think we helped during World War II? The Soviet Union with Joseph Stalin. The fact that he murdered German civilians too. He murdered Jews too. Everybody thinks that this is a black-white dichotomy. It's good and evil. No. Okay? The United States has to recognize that we are in a world full of crap. Okay? The entire world, most of these other countries are run by shitty dictators. You could go all around the world. Eritrea. You can go to Ethiopia. I just named two countries that are right next to each other in Africa, but you know, they're both run by these ruthless dictators, and America is not invading them. Why? There's virtually no natural resources for us to steal in Ethiopia. It's all self-interest, okay? The only reason we're going into Syria is because of pathetic excuses made by a lot of times by defense contractors. There's also the oil lobby. I've always said, you know, I believe that America should be a free, capitalist, small government country, that we should return the power to the average citizen. And this is not going to help that. And Senator Sanders, with his waffling, he said this one tweet after another. He said, as the most powerful nation on earth, the United States must work with the international community to bring peace and stability to Syria. And then right after that, he says, I'm deeply concerned the strike in Syria could lead... Then what the fuck do you want, Bernie? What the fuck do you want? Okay, you did nothing under Obama. You ran as president. You ran as president with absolutely no platform on international affairs. Nothing. You said nothing. Everything you said was about millionaires and billionaires. Everything you said was about how you're going to break up the big banks. That's what you were doing. So fuck you, Bernie, and fuck you, all you Democrats. There's only one senator who really talks about, because the only reason he knows the real course of action on Syria is because Senator Rand Paul, okay, and I don't think he's going to become president. I don't think he has a chance of success. He's not a charismatic person, but he speaks the truth to power. What does speaking truth to power mean? It does not mean going and telling the leader of your country to go eat shit. It doesn't mean coming out and being just a thorn in his side and being confrontational with him. Because if it was, then Bernie Sanders would have done that to President Obama. Okay, what it means is that you give the criticism that's needed. You provide a voice of truth at the proper time. You criticize decisions that are bad. It's not about ideology. You can see that there's plenty of Democrats who rightly have good reservations about what's going on in Syria. Okay, there's a lot of them. They're just not in leadership. They're not elected officials. They're just like, you know, these fake Democrats, the ones that are basically sitting on the sidelines and whatever. In many cases, they're progressive Democrats that never supported Hillary anyway. But you have to now let go of the left-right Democratic versus Republican conflict. Okay, a lot of these other YouTubers talk about it. I've believed it for a while now, that we need a third party, a strong Libertarian party, which is, by the way, why I'm supporting, I don't live in New York State, but you should look him up, Larry Sharpe, Libertarian, on Facebook. He also has a website. I'll post it in the link. Yeah, we should talk about politicians that are working to bring back our priorities to this country, to expanding the freedoms and ending this cycle of bullshit. Because the real issue is talking about what we should do. It's not talking about who's an asshole, because you're all assholes too. Okay, nobody out there is really clean from any of these problems that we have in this country. You know, I've done some things that are wrong too. Okay. Anyway, here's to Senator Rand Paul. Pray for wisdom. We're gonna keep talking about why President Trump is wrong. It's not about hating on him. You know, I'm the last person who's gonna hate on somebody who's not Hillary Clinton, because Hillary Clinton's the real problem. Okay, she's still on my shit list. And President Trump, if he keeps doing this, yeah, I'm gonna support somebody else in 2020. If he keeps doing things like this and not repealing Obamacare, which is, for me, that's the real linchpin, then I'm going to vote for a Libertarian. I'm definitely not voting for a Democrat, but I would vote Libertarian. You know, my support is not to be taken for granted, and neither should yours, and neither should all individuals, because that's how we end up just being fucking dupes for these assholes. This is Ramon with Bold Like a Leopard. You can follow Bold Like a Leopard on Facebook at Bold Like a Leopard or Chef Leopard, on Twitter at Chef Leopard, on VidMe, vid.me/Chef Leopard, and pretty soon on minds.com, probably in a couple weeks. I'm going to try to set that up. And have a great week. I'm not going to have that many videos this week because it's a holiday, Passover. You know, all of you Nazi trolls can, you know, you're gonna have a break for me for probably 4 or 5 days. Anyway, this is Ramon with Bold Like a Leopard, and we'll see you around the bend.